Hello, Planeswalkers! Tyler here, bringing you episode 3 of Multiverse Models, where we are continuing our work on the trusty Machete. Now, up until this point, we did the basic modeling, and then we added in some details. The point of this video, so this was meant to be the last video. This was meant to be UV Unwrapping and texturing. I am not good at at UV Unwrapping, especially in a new program to me like Blender. So we're actually going to have one more video after this one for the final materials and texturing of the trusty Machete. But for this, I basically had my phone in front of me and I'm like trying to figure out how to get my UVs in a meaningful and easy to work with way for Blender's ability to texture paint directly onto the model. I believe here you'll see the issue I'm having is my normals are currently reversed on the blade, which is why when I painted on that one side, it showed up on the other side. For those of you that aren't as familiar when it comes to 3D modeling, normals are basically the faces that you can see. And if they are reversed, as they are here, everything that you do, you're going to be seeing the other side of it. It's all going to be reversed. And as for UV unwrapping itself, when you are texturing a 3D model, the way that you do it is you can imagine having to like peel off the skin of the model and lay it down flat. That way you can apply the texture to it and then basically like rewrap it. There's a relatively famous image of a guy who used a Santa chocolate to explain it to his son. But as you can see, I got the normals fixed on the blade, so now when I draw on a side, the color appears on that side. Initially, I had gone through on each separate section of this Machete: the handle, the wraps, and the blade. Those are the four major sections: are the handle, the wraps that are around the handle, the blade, and the wraps that are around the blade. And I originally just kind of went through and like automatically unwrapped them, which is not very good. That's not a good way to do things. The computer is smart, it is not that smart. And so it'll give me all the pieces, but they're cut in weird spots, and texturing is a nightmare. So I ended up just completely, see, right there, that is from the automatic unwrap, and it looks relatively nice, but it's so bad. So what I end up going through and doing instead is trying to figure out good places where I can cut seams. Because then I can mark those. I'm going to end up basically cutting this thing in half, which is what I'm doing now. I end up basically marking like, hey, when I unwrap this thing, I want it cut along this seam, and then it'll do it. I then can go through after its UVs appear over there on the left side on that empty grid, and add some more seams and cut it more where I need the cuts to be. So right now I've got it marked down, just dead down the middle. And I know there's better ways to do this, and there's lots of ways that I'm just not good at this, but hey, it's a learning adventure. We're learning together. There we go. So now the UVs of the handle, as you saw there briefly, there they are. The UVs of the handle are divided down. It's been divided into two parts. And so what I'm going to do is now go along these bits that are along the top and bottom and mark more seams so that I can cut it so it'll open up nicer. Because my end goal is that I want all of those like rectangles to be perfect squares. Because that's what they more or less are on the actual handle. And so the nicer the squares are, the nicer the texturing is going to be. So now those have gotten separated, and I realize I need to cut them even more. So I end up going in and cutting even deeper, and after playing around with this some more, I actually discover that there's an unwrap tool, or there's the oh god, it's gonna pop up, but you can take all the UVs and you can, after you've like cut them and everything like this, and you can put them to a grid, which makes them all perfectly square, and that's the route I end up going for all 4 sections. You'll see it as things go on, because right now it's just me playing around with these tools, which I'm seeing now it's made things a little bit easier, but things are still overlapping, things are still bending weird ways. And so now I'm playing around with a tool that is meant to it's meant to help get rid of stretching in the texture. And the reason that we're sitting here so long is because while I was moving my mouse, I thought it was doing it. Yep, I've figured it out. I thought it was doing it automatically. I didn't realize it was doing it based off of where the mouse moved. So I sat there, because this is sped up. Yep, see, there we go. I have both the pieces now worked to a grid. And I end up doing that to all the other pieces and then loading them up into the paint texture, or the texture painting node, just to make sure things show up really well. Again, there's most likely people that are way better at this than I am. I wasn't trained on Blender, I was trained on Maya, and I was a lot more familiar with Maya's tools. So, hey, if anyone out there has any tips for UV Unwrapping in Blender, I would 100% appreciate them. Now we get to watch me spend a large amount of time trying to figure out how to get different pieces selected in the UV thing. I kind of get the hang of it towards the end, but I also believe that the blade I don't end up messing with. I think the blade I end up leaving its UVs fine. But see, now I'm back in this view and make sure things look nice, and I realize that with just the flat color, we don't really get to see anything. So I believe what I end up doing is making a new material that I end up doing it later then. I'll talk about it when I get to it. So I'm still in the process of trying to get the UVs of the blade. And so I'm just exploring and trying to click everything, because this is telling me that things are selected. And so I'm mildly embarrassed by this. I'm playing around with the different windows. Once I figure it out on the blade, the wraps become way easier. Because I believe it has to do with those green triangles that are in the top right, that are next to each model. So there's the handle, there's the wrap. The wraps are the other thing that I'm really not happy with how they turned out, because they're not... Oh, yep, there we go. I figured out that one. And now I'm like, how did I do that? How do I do that? I figured it out. Let's do it for the blade. Oh, there we go. I figured it out. We got there. The blade, I believe I try to mess around with like I did with the handle, but I think I end up just leaving this one because it's very few pieces, and I just got the normals fixed, and I believe this, I just end up leaving it how it is. Because I try something. Yeah, I was like, oh, where'd it go? It disappeared. Oh, nope, it's still there. And so I end up going over into here, and I try the grid thing. And I believe it ends up just like giving me just this really weird, long, thin... It's always frustrating watching yourself use tools you're not familiar with. Especially after you've done it, because you know you've figured it out, and you just want to be like, hey, I know how to do this now. Why is it... But, yeah, see, it gives me that, and I was like, not worth messing around with. I can work with these, and I'm just going to go with that. So we end up opening up the wraps for the handles, and I decide I'm going to try and go and mark seams on there, but it becomes way too much of a pain. And so what I end up throwing... Yeah, see, I'm just kind of rambling at this point, and I don't want to be doing that. I'm trying to find a good way that I can select the middle seam so I can divide it in half like I did the other thing. And I end up just saying kind of screw it and just seeing what happens if I can... What am I now? I think I'm upside down now. No, I'm not. Yeah, see, I end up going that route, and I was like, okay, you know what? We're just gonna... Yeah. So now I've just unwrapped them all to grids. Those are... Each one of those, I don't know why they're all shaped differently, but now it's just kind of me messing around and trying to get them to all fit on one thing. But basically, I just want them to be nice and clean, because my plan for texturing this is I'm going to apply materials to each of those to make them appear more realistic, and then I'm going to load those materials up in the... Yeah, here's me just making sure that each of them is their own thing, and I end up doing the same thing for this wrap up here. And so giving me 2 of them. I'll make them bigger. But so after I get the materials applied to them, I'm going to take them into the paint texture node, and I'm going to add a little bit of flair, like on the card, the Machete's got some like green stuff like slashed across, so I'm going to add that, but that's all going to be for the next video. So now I'm making... So as you can see, the handle or the wrap there was purple because it was looking for a texture material that I didn't have assigned to it. So what I end up doing is making a material that I think I just call like UV... It's like UV test. Just so I can apply it and make sure that... Because I end up applying it to all of them just to make sure that when I bring them into paint... the paint isn't distorted, the paint is appearing on the right side. That's me attempting to hide some of the folders from my computer, and I was just like, screw it. So I end up... This is me trying to figure out what the the hotkey for... There it is. So I go to image, and I drop in an image node, and I connect that to the color. And because the wraps are on the same thing, see, the normals are reversed. So if I were to paint on one, it would appear on the other side. So we end up going back into here, select the whole thing, and we reverse the normals. And now they're good again, and they're showing up where they need to. And we end up doing the same thing down here. I apply the same material. And I end up painting on... Because sometimes I've noticed with Blender, when you unwrap something a different way than you did before, it'll just kind of randomly reverse the normals on you. So I was like, okay, those are good. Those are showing up where they need to. And we do the same thing for the handle. We apply this material. Drop in an image node. Basically just kind of setting the stage so things are going to be much easier when I come to texture it for real. So I was like, okay, yep, this is all doing what I need it to do. And I had already tested on the blade earlier, but I believe, I go in anyway just to make sure. And there it is. The Machete is ready to move on to its next thing. It's been UV unwrapped. It's been tested to make sure that it's ready for, it's been tested to make sure that it's ready for texture. And that's what we're going to be doing next time. Making materials, applying them. I'm really excited because Zendikar Rising, some of the insert cards in the packs show core weapons, like the weapons that the core use. So I can actually get an idea of what material the handle is made from, because you can't actually see it in the card and whatnot. So I'm super excited with where it's going. It's going a lot slower than I want it to be. Ooh, sorry. It's going a lot slower than I want it to. But I mean, that's just kind of it. I'm learning how to use a new program, and it's slow moving. I just moved to a new place. I'm gonna be here for about a year, and so that slowed things down. But I'm excited with where things are going. I think I'm getting a better grip, and I think I'm gonna take a little bit more free time off camera to learn how to make models before I launch another series or another multiverse models for a different thing. But thank you for sitting through my rambling and watching me do some boring technical stuff for 3D modeling. It's definitely not the part I enjoy. I enjoy the modeling itself. But anyway, thanks for listening. My name has been Tyler. If you like what we do here on Partners With, be sure to shoot us a sub, shoot us a comment, shoot us a like. We could use all of the interaction that we can. Thank you for watching. I've been your host, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.